Welcome in to another edition of Berg is the Word. My name is Mark Bergin, and I will be breaking down the Bears' 22-14 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. If you want to weigh in, express your frustration, please feel free to let me know. But Chicago's offense today in a do-or-die game was absolutely abysmal. The Bears had 9 total yards in the first half in today's game, and it hamstrung them at the very end when they're trying to mount a comeback and the defense can't get off the field because the Eagles dominated time of possession. The Eagles held the ball for more than 40 minutes out of the 60-minute game today. The Bears offense finishing with only 164 yards of total offense, and you wonder why you struggle. I honestly believe Cowboys and Bears says too little, too late. I agree with you. I honestly believe if you're Chicago's head coach, Matt Nagy, you have to consider putting in Chase Daniel to replace Trubisky because of how bad the Bears quarterback has been and how bad this offense has been. Stat for you. At the half, Mitchell Trubisky's completion percentage above expectation was 26.7% lower compared to what was expected. That's from NFL Next Gen Stats. It's the worst completion percentage above expectation this season for a quarterback with at least 10 attempts. Marcus Mariota had the next lowest in week 6 at minus 20.5. Trubisky and the offense weren't able to get going until the second half, but you can't just rely on your offense to show up for a half and win. I've said this before on this podcast before on Berg is the Word. If you're an NFL team and you can score 20 points on the Bears, you're going to win because of how bad the Bears offense is. 9 total yards in the first half. You'd like to see them score in the second half with the 2 touchdowns on the offensive drives. You honestly, in a do-or-die game, the Bears needed this game if they wanted even a chance to make the playoffs. Bears have now dropped 4 consecutive games. And considering how well the Green Bay Packers have played this year and the Minnesota Vikings have played this year, this game against Philadelphia today was almost a loser leaves town game. The Bears season is probably over. The Bears fall now to, I believe, 3-5. They are 3-5, fourth in the NFC North. But again, 9 total yards in the first half. It was the fewest yardage output for the Bears. Fewest offensive yardage output for the Bears in the last 40 years. We're talking about historically bad. Bears overall today finish again with 164 yards of total offense and only had 1 turnover. But again, Philadelphia held the ball for more than 40 minutes in this game out of the 60-minute game. Cowboys and Bears says, why didn't Nagy challenge the pass interference in the first half touchdown, Ertz, Fuller flag? I'll say this. I was watching a couple different games today to answer that question. If you're a coach and you challenge for a pass interference, referees have made it clear, unless it is absolutely blatant, they are not going to overturn the call or non-call on the field. It's a wasted timeout if you're the Bears. We've seen this now. It is now week 9. It's something I'm going to be talking about my Believe in Steelers podcast. I have a podcast with Ike Taylor that we're going to be talking about when we record following the Steelers win today, that we're going to talk about NFL coaches who decide to challenge either pass interference calls or non-calls. The referees typically don't overturn what the ruling was on the field. It's a rule I really, really don't like, and it's a rule that the NFL implemented following the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Saints when it was absolutely blatant. But these referees don't want to make themselves look bad in games. And we've seen now through 9 weeks that typically they don't overturn what is called on the field in terms of pass interference. So I hope that answered your question there. But again, the Bears just were absolutely abysmal today. This defense comes to play yet again. only giving up 22 points to Philadelphia when you're stuck on the field for 40 minutes. It's amazing this defense is even as good as it is, considering how bad this offense is. Only giving up 22 points when you're on the field for 40 minutes. It's seriously unbelievable. They had a stat today with Jordan Howard, the Bears' former running back. He had 24 touchdowns in 3 seasons with the Bears. How'd you like to have that guy right now if you're Chicago? Bears don't have a guy that can really sniff the end zone. I understand they scored the 2 touchdowns in the second half, but at that point, it's just too little too late. What do you take about the amount of flags the Bears had today? Let me take a look at this team stats about that. Let me pull that up really quickly. If you have any more questions, feel free to weigh in. I'll do my best to weigh in. Yeah, 9 penalties for the Bears for 70 yards, 8 penalties for the Eagles for 75 yards. Obviously, you don't want to see any kind of penalties. And the Bears don't have margin for error considering how bad their offense is. To break this down for you really, really quickly, and yeah, you can say 9 penalties is too much, 70 yards is a lot. It's not like you're getting penalized for more than 100 yards, a full length of a football field. When you only have 162 total yards offensively, it's awfully hard to win in this league, especially considering how good offense is and how this is such an offense-oriented league. Trubisky was 10 of 21, 125 yards passing. Carson Wentz, 26 for 39, 239 yards, and a touchdown. David Montgomery on the ground for the Bears, 14 carries, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard, playing his former team, 19 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown on the ground for Jordan Howard. But this Bears offense is just, they've got to make some sort of change. And if you don't believe in your quarterback and your leader, I'm not saying Chase Daniel is going to salvage the season. There's a reason that Chase Daniel's been a backup throughout the duration of his career. Yeah, 10 of 21 is not good enough. Bears and Cowboys, I completely agree with that. Completely agree. You have a sub 500 or a sub 50% completion percentage. Completely agree with that comment from Cowboys and Bears. So, hey, thank you so much for weighing in. You've added to this discussion already. And if anyone else is watching, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to weigh in. I'm happy to weave you into this discussion. The Bears offense, though, especially in the first half, getting shut out in the first half. And just, again, Philly just had to control the clock today, and it's exactly what they did. And you keep any defense on the field for 40 minutes, awfully hard to win a football game there. Awfully hard to win a football game there. I'll say this at the end. The Bears had, less than 30 seconds left, and that kind of pooch kick by Philadelphia. Shaheen wasn't able to retrieve it, and Philadelphia recovered. Do you really think Mitchell Trubisky would have led the Bears down the field? Real Andrew Fox says, considering the Bears essentially put all their eggs in one basket, where do we go home? Where do we go home here? I think he means where do we go from here? Chicago's got Detroit next week. Again, now at 3-5, 4th place in the NFC North. I think if you're the Bears, the trade deadline's already passed. And I understand the NFL trade deadline is different from the NBA trade deadline, but you've got to kind of decide what if you actually do want to try to mount a comeback and try to make the playoffs despite being 3-5. The Bears have now already lost more games than they lost a season ago. Or you got to kind of decide, here's the thing. Again, Chase Daniel's been a backup throughout his career. Mitchell Trubisky, the number 2 overall pick. Do you want to keep playing him and see everything that there is to see now in his 3rd season in this league with the Bears? And really, you have to evaluate him and continue to play him because he was the 2nd overall pick. And you have to decide whether or not you want to keep him beyond the season. If I'm Chicago, especially with some of the talent that's coming out in this next draft class, in the 2020 NFL draft class with, Oregon's quarterback, Justin Herbert. You've got Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. Jake Fromm's not bad out of Georgia. Joe Burrow out of LSU isn't bad. Jalen Hurts, he might get drafted here. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple guys here and there at the collegiate level that are, going to turn pro. If you're a Bears fan, especially considering that it's not like back in the day when you'd make a 1st-round pick with an NFL quarterback, it would take up, a huge portion of your salary cap. If you're the Bears, you've got to identify either someone in the draft or maybe someone in free agency. someone like a Teddy Bridgewater, who's due to be a free agent at the end of the season, maybe Phillip Rivers. Here's the thing. If your team has a championship window, and the Bears were in the playoffs last year against this Philadelphia Eagles team, a team that you thought that Chicago might want to enact some revenge on, considering that the Eagles ended their season 1 year ago. If you're the Bears, you have to evaluate, okay, do we want to develop a rookie and kind of retool and rebuild this team and maybe miss the playoffs for a year or two and retool and rebuild? Or do you want to try to get a quick fix in there? Maybe a guy like Bridgewater or someone who's much more accurate of a passer than Trubisky would be able to right this thing. The fact that the Bears did not make a move during the trade deadline, here's the thing. Even if they bring in an accurate passer, who are you giving the ball to? Allen Robinson is, one playmaker. Tariq Cohen's okay in space. Montgomery finally had an 100-yard game last week, but other than those three guys, who do the Bears have to be able to distribute the football to? It's really been suspect with some of the playmakers. And I don't think this is just a quick fix of bringing in a guy. I know Cam Newton was rumored, Teddy Bridgewater. If you just plug in a brand new quarterback, I don't know that that's going to fix some of the offensive problems that the Bears have had. The Bears, again, Montgomery was 14 carries for 40 yards. The Bears finished with only 62 yards rushing today. So even if you fix the quarterback problem with the struggles that Trubisky has had, this Bears offense hasn't been able to move the ball because they have not been able to run the football effectively either. So it's almost a twofold or threefold or maybe tenfold problem with the offense. It's not just the quarterback right now. Again, this is another edition of Berg is the Word. My name is Mark Bergin. Appreciate all of you tuning in and, kind of expressing your frustration after today's loss, the Bears falling to the Philadelphia Eagles 22-14. Going to go ahead and sign off here, catch up on some more football. Hope all of you have terrific rest of your Sundays, wherever you are. And we'll see what happens with the Bears taking on the Detroit Lions next weekend as the Bears now on a 4-game losing streak. We'll see. Take care. So long, everyone.